Hello guys, Tommy here. Welcome to another video of Fix My Build. This is a video where you send me your PC build via PC Part Picker and I can help you build it. That is only if you want me to help you fix your PC. Now remember, if you want me to help you fix your PC, let me know in the comment section. And also, if you're interested in any of these parts that I'm going to mention in this video, I've dropped a link in the description down below. Now that can be very good for my channel. I can get a little bit of cash when you buy those parts via my link. Now without wasting any time, on with the video. So this is a guy's build right here. As you can see, this red belt here at the top indicates that there's something wrong with this build. Is compatibility issues. This means there's something wrong with this build. If you put this build together, this build will technically not work. Now for the CPU, you went with an Intel i9 14900K. Now this is a very bad CPU, I'm not gonna lie. These CPUs tend to run a little bit hard. You don't actually need this CPU. This CPU is 24 cores. I'm not saying 24 cores is bad. Whatever this CPU is capable of, you can achieve the same result with an i9 13900K or F. And that CPU is way cheaper than this CPU. Now for the cooler, you went with the Cooler Master Liquid AIO. This is not a bad AIO, but right now it's basically kind of expensive. For the motherboard, you went with the Asus ROG Strix Z790F Gaming Wi-Fi ATX motherboard. Now this is a very good motherboard, I'm not gonna lie. This motherboard supports 3M.2. However, this motherboard is not compatible with your CPU, the 14900K, because this motherboard was actually released way back before the 14900Ks were actually released. So with this motherboard and this CPU, you actually need to perform BIOS flashback. It's not a problem, they can actually work, but all you need to know is that you need to perform BIOS flashback, and I'm pretty certain that this motherboard supports BIOS flashback. And for the RAM, you went with the Patriot Viper Venom 2x16GB DDR5 RAM running at 6000 MHz with CL timing of 36. CL timing of 36 is not that bad, it's actually better than CL40. These RAM sticks are $87, which is not that bad if you ask me. And for the storage, you went with the Western Digital Black, a 2TB Gen 4 NVMe. Even though your motherboard supports Gen 5, you don't actually need Gen 5 speed. Gen 4 is actually good enough. For a 1TB Gen 5, you can actually get it at the same price as a 2TB Gen 4 at around $150. And this is 2TB and it's at $150, which means it's a win. I don't actually disagree with you on this one, but there are other M.2s that are actually cheaper than this. So, you can find them at around $120 or something like that. But this is not a bad M.2. And for the GPU, I could not agree with you more. This is the Radeon RX 7900 XTX. 24GB of VRAM. This is a very fantastic 1440p and 4K GPU, mostly 4K GPU. This GPU right now on Newegg is at $1,106. Now for the case, I don't know if you just like this case or maybe you are like attracted to how it looks. This is the Cooler Master case H500P Mesh. Now this is a mid-tower case. It's a very good case, but what I don't like about it is these big fans. For me, it's not good enough. Kind of like looking, it's not sexy enough. That's what I'm trying to say. But hey, this is not bad. And for the power supply, you went with Be Quiet. Nothing wrong with this one. This is the Be Quiet Pure Power 1000 watt 80 plus gold fully modular power supply for $165 on Amazon. And on Newegg, you can also find it at around the same price. Now I talked to this guy and he told me that his budget was actually $2,000. As you can see right here, he's way over budget. It's $2,622.19. What do I think is wrong with your build? Mostly your CPU. That is basically something that I'm actually bothered with. Unless if you have no problem with BIOS flashback, this is not a bad CPU, but they run really hard. That is what I don't like about it, and they're overpriced. So here is my build. So this is basically your system, but I kind of like remove the unnecessary parts out of it. So I'm gonna start with the GPU. For GPU, I basically went with the same GPU that you went with, but unlike you, I went with a different brand. I went with the ASRock. This is the RX 7900 XTX, 24GB, same as yours. But unlike that one, this one is basically cheaper. You can find it on Newegg at around $1,000. I think you're gonna be saving over $100, which is something that you need to do whenever you're building a gaming PC, because saving is actually the way. So yeah, this is the GPU that we're going to be going with. This is a very good looking GPU. You can actually play any game in 4K and 1440p if you want. So for the CPU, we're going to be going with this one, the Intel i7 13700K. This is 16 core CPU. You don't actually need 16 cores, but this is way better. This one right now is going at around $315 on Amazon, and it's also available on Best Buy. Now this CPU is actually kind of like perfect to pair with the RX 7900 XTX because an i7 13700K is a high-end CPU. Now for the cooler, I went with something that is a little bit cheap. This is the Montech Edgeflow ARGB 360 AIO. This one right now is $800. It can cool down your i7 13th gen CPU, and also it can cool down your i9 14900K. And for the motherboard, I went with something that is actually kind of like good looking. This is basically the same price as your motherboard. This is the ASRock Z790 PG Sonic ATX motherboard. One of the things that is annoying about this motherboard is that this motherboard doesn't have BIOS flashback, but we don't actually need that because this motherboard is already compatible with our CPU. And for the RAM, I went with the same one as your RAM sticks, Patriot Viper Venom 32GB, 2x16GB DDR5 RAM running at 6000 MHz with CPU timing of 30. As you can see, I went with 30 instead of 36. And what is also surprising is that these RAM sticks are cheaper than your RAM sticks. As you can see, this one is $83 and yours were around maybe $37 or $36 expensive, but this one is actually cheaper and it's faster. We're gonna be saving at least $5 on these RAM sticks. So for storage, I went with the Crucial P3 Plus 2TB Gen 4 NVMe. Now this one is kind of like cheaper. This one right now is going at $122 on Amazon, and you can also find it on Newegg, but on Newegg it's kind of like expensive and it's out of stock right now at the time of recording this video. So for the case, I went with the Montech Air 903 Max, a mid-tower case for $90. So this is a very high quality case. I went with the Montech basically because I went with the Montech when it comes to the AIO. This case has 3 RGB fans, the one at the rear is not RGB. That's kind of like a downside of this case, but hey, other than that, this is a very good case. So for the power supply, I went with the Corsair. This is a fully modular 18X power supply. Now this power supply is basically expensive compared to your power supply, but this power supply was actually at around $160 when I put this on the list, but right now it's at $170. I don't understand why you should go with your Be Quiet power supply. Like I said, I have no problem with your Be Quiet power supply, but yeah, this is a power supply you can also consider. This is a very good looking power supply, and 1000 watts is something that we're gonna actually need because as you can see, our estimated wattage is 732 watts. So yeah, we will need 1000 watts at some point, and just in case we're gonna be upgrading in the future, we won't have some issues. So yeah, our current price of this build will be $2,041.80. So yeah, that is that. If you want help building this gaming PC, let me know in the comment section, and if you're interested in this build, I've dropped a link in the description down below. Now, see you in the next video.